Okay, Amir Lancaster, what a gentleman, a scholar, all of that, a reality star. But now let's get on to something way more miserable. And that's right, I'm talking about Real Housewives of New Jersey. We had the season 14 premiere this past Sunday night. So this is going to be episode one. I have not really covered Jersey in terms of recapping in a long time. So let's see how painful this potentially is. But let me give you just some thoughts on Jersey. I was on Up and Adam Live, his YouTube channel today, talking about talking about the first episode. And I think this is a mighty franchise. I mean, you're 14 seasons in. Wow, what a long run. And I think you would be remiss if you didn't bring up the fact that Teresa however you want to say her last name, I've never learned to say it in all these years correctly. She is a star. She is. She is part of the reason that Bravo is as big of a brand as it is today. People will always think about the table flip. Will always talk about cop without a badge. People will always, I mean, there's just so many amazing moments in Jersey. I was bringing up today, which I bring up a lot of the times because I rewatched it this past year, was the christening episode, the season that we've got the introduction to Melissa and Joey Gorga. And go back and watch that christening episode. It is just fantastic. It's like it's like a Godfather soap opera. It is truly, to me, groundbreaking television. You don't see that. You didn't see that with other housewife franchises. Real Housewives of Orange County wasn't doing that. Beverly Hills wasn't doing that. Jersey had its special sauce, and that special sauce was family. You know, you could throw Italian family in there. You could throw in all of these kind of tropes that we think of when we think of places like Jersey, but it's like a strong family. It's like this thing, and there's deep pain and pathos that come with this, what's turned out to be this kind of tragic soap opera of this family that we have now unfortunately got into this rut of focusing on, and that is the relationship between Teresa, her brother Joey Gorga, and Joey's wife, Teresa's sister-in-law, Melissa Gorga. We have gotten so caught up in this storyline season after season after season. That's why I call it Groundhog's Day all the time, because you would check in with Jersey each season and you would still be in the exact same place. And so it still gets great ratings. It's still a very highly watchable show, but I think sometimes it does read, and we overuse this word, obviously, is, the toxicity that comes out of this show. There just seems to be so many things happening behind the scenes that it almost makes their actual lives pale in comparison. Like, we don't know what we're seeing. And I feel, we've talked about this a couple times in the last couple of weeks, of the Jersey fandom, especially on Twitter, I think is really a byproduct of the toxicity that you see in these relationships. Now, you've probably heard this from other shows already, that there's like certain social media accounts that allegedly worked in conjunction with Teresa and Jen Aiden to push certain narratives about other cast members on people, onto an audience. But it was very weird. I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again, is that sometimes I just don't even understand these accounts that they work with, because to me, these accounts aren't heavy hitters. And I feel like a highly discerning viewer will kind of read the stuff that is put out. And usually, if you're not insane, you'll be like, oh, this is ridiculous. Like, sometimes I just want to judge the show by the show itself. And that's why I think it needs a really good production team to like show us what story you're trying to tell us. But that's why Jersey has suffered, though, because they've been telling a lot of the same story year in, year out. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't want to see Teresa leave. And I don't want to see Melissa and Joey leave. I'm one of those people that's like, okay, but I do agree that they can't get, like, I'm fine. They don't fix it. This can't be fixed. Their relationship cannot be patched up, and it's not going to be patched up on television. Nor does the show need that to survive. So I'm fine. Even if you see in this first episode, Melissa's asked in a talking head, to comment on something about Teresa. And she said, you know what? I would rather not talk about it. There's another situation with Margaret talking to Jen Fessler. And Jen Fessler says, hey, can I bring up this situation and ask Teresa about this? And she's like, no, please don't bring up my name around Teresa. So it's one of those things. And you could compare it to Vanderpump Rules in a way, with Ariana saying, hey, I'm not going to do scenes with Tom. And so Melissa Gorga said on the reunion last season, was like, listen, this isn't going to be fixed. We're not going to make up. I don't need to film with you. I don't need to be around. Like, so she's holding, like, sticking to her guns. And I appreciate that, because the show needs to find out what it is, because it's not about this relationship, nor it should be, and it should it be anymore. We've wasted enough time on that. And so I sometimes feel like Teresa should get her own spinoff. I mean, obviously, whatever is going on between her and Louis, I mean, I sometimes I'm like, listen, if you're going by what's presented in the show, this is the man that God and the angels sent to her to make up for all of the loss in her life. And from what we've seen, he treats her very well if we're just going by the show. But there is so much noise and there is so much mystery about what this man does. Even in this episode, when we go to Jen Fessler's 55th birthday party, Louis all of a sudden had to go out of town on business to Florida last minute. And no offense to Louis, but I will say we've been burned by Bravo so many times, not by Bravo, the network, but just by storylines of when you when you just like, when there's like, we feel it. There's like this inner feeling we get as an audience. Like when Jen Shaw used to talk about what she did for a living, I remember thinking, wow, that doesn't make a lot of sense, huh? She does really well, though. Good for her. Moving on. Like, I didn't question it. I knew it was weird, didn't question it. It was also the same with Tom Girardi, Erica Jane's husband, of like, wow, man, I know lawyers make a lot of money, but that's a lot of money. That seems weird. Well, good for him. Moving on. Like, we just didn't really question these things. But now I think because we have so many examples of times that it's turned out to be not good, that we have this hypersensitivity to everybody and what they do now. And that includes Louis. That includes Louis. And, regardless of who Louis is on these shows, there have been so many articles, so many people have come forward that had dealt with him in past relationships, that you're like, damn. Like, I remember the video that was, they tried to squash when he was at his like men's group on the beach. Remember that? And he was like talking to one of his exes. He's like, I would like to come to you and marry you and be a good person to you. And like all the guys were like shirtless on the beach next to him, encouraging him. Like, I remember that video like it was yesterday. He's all red faced and crazy hair. I mean, he's still red faced. My God. Last night was another night where I thought like the color on my TV was broken. How is everything in Jersey? Everything like Jersey, the water in Jersey must make you completely ripped, where you have veins on every muscle in your body, including your forehead, and it must make your coloring completely off. You look like the Kool-Aid man. Like it looks like a California raisin at a certain point. You're like, oh my God, what is going on? Like I felt like powder. I felt like, oh my God, I'm so pale. Like as I watch it and like half envious and then half looking for melanoma on people on the screen. So Louis, it's one of those things. And if you look at the trailer for the season, there seems to be some scene where they talk about Louis pissing away Teresa's money. But at the same time, we can't really judge that until we see that, because previews will always misdirect you or mislead you in a certain way. So I don't know. Like I even told you, I met Louis that one time at that Direct TV party in December of this past, I think it was December of this past year. And we were outside and I did have like a very tiny conversation with him. And I was like, really charming guy, very nice guy. And, if I didn't know the show or anything about that, I'd be like, what a great guy. What a really nice guy. And I thought that was very interesting. I thought that was very interesting that he came off so well, so friendly. And, I just wanted to share that with you guys for whatever that means to you. But, I feel like sometimes we have gotten so embroiled in this family dispute that it is almost rendered it meaningless to me, where I'm just like, I don't care. What else you got? Who else you got? There's got to be other fascinating women in New Jersey. Well, I want to see Jen Aiden without Teresa. Like, I don't want to see Jen Aiden having to back up Teresa all the time. What do you got going, Jen? You're a fascinating character. Don't get like I'm just the who's on whose side sometimes gets so tiring to me. And we know Jackie Goldschneider is back, and she actually, I guess, turns to Team Teresa at some point, which in a sense, Jackie's wanted that, it seems like, probably since the beginning of the show. And now she finally has it. But it'll be, I don't know. What did you guys think? I thought overall this first episode, it was pretty easy. I would go 6 out of 10. if I were to kind of give it a rating, but it's hard. It's hard to judge anything on one episode. I will say we've got one of like a new housewife in Jersey. I mean, this person's really coming on strong. One of the this housewife seems a little thirsty. Her name is John Fuda. John Fuda, he lost a lot of weight, got his teeth done, and he is there to shine, baby. This guy seems like he loves the spotlight. Like I like Rachel and John, and I tend to like kind of I will sometimes understand the anger towards Teresa and Louis, but John is falling into that trap that certain guys do, and especially in Jersey, where they get a little bit of the spotlight, and you can tell they really like it. And sometimes it's good for the show, but they never win because you. The show is called Real Housewives. It's not called Real House Husbands. Jersey always skirts that line because we do see so much of the men and their camaraderie. And it's really fun. It's really like I enjoy those scenes like everybody else. But when the guys get too much in the girls' business, it gets rough. Now, Teresa doesn't do herself any favors because she kind of brings John into the conversation about talking about rumors from John's past about going to jail, allegedly drug dealing, and hide the kids when I say this, a double-sided dildo that John seems to like. Hey, I don't sex shame. Why don't we triple-sided dildo? I don't care. But also, John seems to have gotten, no matter if any of that is true, John seems like he got his life completely together, but it also seems like John is really excited to be on television. And in fact, even after last night's episode, John released a PR statement in regards to the episode, which I'll read to you guys at some point during this because I just didn't think it was even necessary. I'm like, John, we get it, man. It's Housewives. You don't have to do this. Nobody, I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm just so desensitized. We're like, we don't care, man. We know where we're at right now. We know we're in Jersey. Okay, let's get into this thing. Let's get our anger out on this episode. This is called Birthday Bombshell. Now, it is Jen Fessler's 55th birthday. I'm assuming what that's about. And there's some small bombshells that happen. This is the description the cable company gives us. Melissa and Teresa prepare to send their daughters to college. Margaret struggles with a milestone. That's the two sentences we get for the premiere. I feel like they could have gussied that up a little bit, just a little bit. And I got to tell you, I'm all for the college storylines. It harkens back for me when remember Vicky Gunvalson in Orange County when Michael went to school and she surprised him and like partied at one of the college parties. Dude, I want to see Teresa doing keg stands. Are you kidding me? Hell yeah. Bring those storylines on. And also, I'm very confused about Teresa's daughters' ages. Like I've gotten so confused by her daughters at this point. I was like, wait a sec. I thought Melania was older than I was very confused, but I found a potential answer. So when we get to that part, we'll talk about it. But I was super confused. I was like, is somebody did they hold back one of the daughters? What's happening here? Okay, the episode starts and we get a shot of like Jersey, but it fucking looks like it's like the Dark Knight. Like it's Gotham, and there's like this like really intense music. It's like dun dun dun. It's like Hans Zimmer, and you're like, what the is this like a crime family? What's going on here? And it says New Jersey in like bold white letters and they go to Rails restaurant. This poor Rails restaurant has seen way too many fights. Rails is supposedly like a nice steakhouse in Jersey, but like it's just like a place where I think the Jersey cast likes to fight. And you see somebody like sweeping up broken glass, just sadly sweeping up. And we see Dolores sitting by herself at this long table. And you know that all the women were there probably for some kind of meal that like went into like a complete fight. And you know it's a meal with the women because if you look at the table, none of the food is touched because all these ladies are on Ozempic. All these like little like burgers are not like I clocked that food immediately. I was like, nobody's eating at that table. But I also am like so tired of this trope. We see this in all of the reality shows now where they'll start with a scene from this is probably the very last episode. And that's where they'll start. So they'll tease it out of like, oh my God, this season must go off the rails like Rails Restaurant. And then a producer goes, how did it ever come to this? How did it ever come to this? And Dolores is like, I don't know. And we see all these flashbacks of, I guess, stuff throughout the season. Teresa talking to Jen Aiden going like, I always rode for you. I always rode for you. And Jen Aiden says, I don't feel it. I don't feel it. So like, uh-oh, is there trouble in friendship paradise? Who knows? And then you see a scene with Jen Fassler talking to Melissa, saying, how is Teresa handling this? You see Melissa questioning Jen Fessler about her relationship with Teresa. You see Jackie Goldschneider talking to Teresa and Jen. You see Rachel talking to Danielle, and they seem to be getting along. You see Margaret Joseph says, that's enough. And a producer says, in one word, how did the sit down go? And Dolores in a talking head says, horrible, horrible. And then we get like a flash forward, and then we see Jen Fessler fighting with Teresa and says, shut your hot dog lip mouth. And the more I've watched this episode, the more I've really appreciated the hot dog lip mouth. That's like a good burn because Teresa is a very beautiful woman, but obviously the lips have gotten bigger over the years. All of our lips have, not mine, but I can't afford. But a lot of the ladies and a lot of our lips have gotten bigger, so I'm not pointing any fingers. But Jen Fessler is like, shut your hot dog lip mouth. So you see all of these women fighting. You hear Jen Aiden say, she's unhinged. You hear Margaret Joseph say, shut your fucking mouth. You're full of shit. You're a loser. You're a little fucking snake. So classic Jersey. And then all of a sudden the white lettering comes up 3 months earlier. And we get this fun poppy music. Bong, bong, bong. I just wanna feel you. And we go to Melissa Gorga and Joey Gorga's new home. Man, they moved out of the old home, right? There was like, they moved into this new place. It's all like decorated now. And Antonia is going off to school. And Melissa's like, Antonia, you got to put your stuff in piles. They have this dog, Nico, who's peeing on the curtains. I'm sure Nico learned that from Joey Gorga. Then we go over to Margaret Joseph's abode. I love Margaret Joseph's sense of style. She has a real quirky sense of decoration, and I love that. Her and her, I think, house lady are putting her duvet on. We zoom out of there, and then we go to, we're over at Danielle. Danielle's in her second season at her house. Her little daughter and her are playing with like this toy gun money maker thing. And Danielle's husband comes in. It's like, they used to call me the money man at clubs. I don't know. It's cute. This little girl is a star. Then we cut from there. We go over to the Fudas, Rachel and John Fuda's house. And John Fuda comes down, and you can tell he is just the belle of the ball. He's like, hey, you could tell, he doesn't say it, but you can tell he's like, he's proud of the weight loss. He's like, hey, do you even notice it's me, John Fuda? Did the bald head give it away? Yeah, I dropped a couple, right? All right. So we're over at the Fuda's house. We see the kids everywhere. Jaden, 16, Rachel's son, he like helping put chairs out because all the family are going to come over for like a meal. So Rachel is saying that the Fuda household always busy. Juliana is growing as fast as they do. Her parents used to be 15 minutes away, but then they moved a couple hours away. So she likes to invite them over, a couple times a month just to check in. So this whole family gets here. Chaos is in Rachel's entire family comes in, and the star of this family is Nona, the grandma Anna. And that's another real great trope with Bravo is that they'll have like an elderly grandma or grandfather figure that kind of just just like tough talking nonsense. Like, what's going on here? I love everything. Hey, come give you Nona a kiss. By the way, every one of my Jersey people are going to be with that accent. Hey, come over here. I'm Joey Gorga. Hey, I'm Nona. Come give Nona a kiss. But Nona is just being fantastic. Kissing all the kids. I haven't seen the girls. How are they? Are we gonna eat focaccia? Are we gonna eat the focaccia? And John is on a diet. He's like, oh, he can eat a little bit. Fuda can eat a little bit. Come on, John, you can eat a little focaccia. Do it for Nona. Come on. So they're preparing the dinner. The little girl learns how to say focaccia. That's a big moment in any young Italian's life. And the little kid is learning curse words. This little daughter, we flash back to a video of this little girl, the little girl saying, you're a fucking chooch. You're a fucking chooch. And the kid, whoever's filming is like, and sorry guys. And the daughter looks over like, oops, did I say that? Oh my God. I want that as my ringtone. You're a fucking chooch. You're a fucking chooch. I love that. You're a fucking chooch. She's prepping to be a housewife. So everybody's going out to have the meal. We're catching up. This is like what you do after a summer, seeing all your characters, what they were up to. Um, so they're breaking bread. They do a cheers. I love you. I love you guys all. I love you guys all. Let's cheers. Cheers. All right. All right. What's going on? And so Nona's like, what have you been doing? And Rachel is like, our plate's very full. Juliana, my daughter, has like this tongue tie and then her lip too. So the daughter has like some speech problems. Um, there is like this thing there, this little piece underneath your tongue that connects your tongue to the palate. So when it's too tight or too far forwarded, you don't have full mobility of the tongue, I guess. And she has an appointment with a pediatric dentist. But Rachel seems like this is the deal. All these housewives seem like usually they're amazing mothers. And Rachel's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes for my daughter. I will tell you, though, I think some of the other housewives and the house husbands need to get this tongue tied thing. Some of these guys need to get their tongue tied so they can't speak as much. But Rachel, obviously, very good mom. She also says that she is throwing Jen Fessler, or helping throw Jen Fessler, a surprise birthday party for her 55th birthday. And she says Jen Fessler's husband or, dude wants to invite all the girls, which includes Teresa and Jen Aiden. And she doesn't get along with Teresa and Jen Aiden, but Rachel still reached out to them. And she did, she reached out to them even though she doesn't get along with them. And Nona's like, the nose job one, the nose job lady. Yeah, it's like, yes, the nose job Jen, the nose job Jen, the one that looks like a who. But anyways, Teresa actually responded back to this invite from Rachel, which was surprising to Rachel. She was like, thank you for the invite. I said, I know we had our issues or whatever, but I would like to invite you to Jen's party on behalf of Jen and Jeff, blah, blah, blah. And Nona's like, I'm already getting a knot in my stomach. And Rachel's like, I get that, but the party's not for John Fuda. The party's, it's not even in my home. I'm not building a bridge for them. The sole reason I reached out to Teresa at all, she says, was for the party. That's it. I mean, her husband hired an investigator to investigate us, and I have no interest in being friends with people that do shit like that. And they asked to John, what are you going to do when Louis comes up to you? And he's like, I'm just going to nod. I'm just going to nod like they do at Home Depot. Like, how you doing? How you doing, Louis? Because that's what we can't forget is that came out of the reunion that Louis potentially had them investigated. Remember all that stuff with the weird lawyer and Louis, it just seems like there's so much weirdness around him. So how would you expect to then all of a sudden be buddy with these people? That's like the crux of this show. When you push it too far and when you get family members involved and even the kids involved, how is that then safe to okay, we'll put it all aside for a season? It's weird. And we still don't really have any definitive answers. And that mystery gets deeper and deeper when you take into the account all of this information with them reaching out to social media accounts. I just feel like there needs to be some firm rules in place where you can't do shit like that. I say it all the time. What's the fun in being a celebrity if these so-called celebrities are having to kiss the ass of small social media accounts to push a narrative? You're better than that. You're a celebrity. Come on, you don't need to do shit like that. Are you kidding me? Anyways, we get out of that scene, upbeat music. Bow, 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 bow. We're back over at the Gorgas. And Antonia is just laying on bed instead of packing for college. She's got to pack for college, folks. The dog also is wearing a diaper, which is another thing that I think Joey Gorga should do. Melissa says she's excited to be in their new home. She handpicked every single thing in this house. She's in her element. There's even a neon sign says, wish you were here. Very Kyle Richard coded. So Melissa's like, girl, let's go through your closet. Let's pack some stuff. And Antonia's like, I'm taking everything. I'm taking everything. She's going to the University of Delaware, we find. And she's like, I don't know when my kids are ready to live without me. I don't think they're going to be able to live without me. And she's like, you're only going to be able to take this mini clothes. And Antonia's like, well, then I'll squeeze things. Everything's my favorite. And Melissa in a talking head's like, this child is going to go through it, but I'm very excited for her to go because she needs this. She needs to learn these things. I remember my college experience, you guys, was so weird because I went to Arizona State University, the Harvard of the West. I've gotten a couple people to reach out that say I make fun of ASU too much. I had a great ASU experience, and I always just like to joke about ASU. But I could have gone to a lot of places, but I was in love with this girl, so I went to ASU and I did theater there. It turned out to be a really great experience. But I remember, my parents lived in Paradise Valley, which was like 40 minutes away. And so it was like just driving up, but I lived the first year in Manzanita, and I still think it is the weirdest. Nothing prepares you for living with your parents one year, and then the next year, all of a sudden, you're living in a dormitory, and you just have no fucking it's so I was thinking about that. I was talking to Rebecca about this a couple weeks ago, and I was just said it was so I had a roommate, his name was Clint, I believe, and he was a professional bodybuilder, or he was trying to be. And it was just like, I decorated my half of the room, and it was all like movie poster. Like I had like Edward Scissorhands cut out. I had like a Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. I had like a Pulp Fiction movie. Like every piece of my side of the room was decorated with like movie and music memorabilia. And his side of the room was completely bare. And his little mini fridge just had like protein powder things and like raw, like just, he would just eat cans of tuna, and I would wake up and sometimes he would be shaving or he would be posing in the mirror, and all it like nothing prepares you for that. Nothing prepares you for living with a stranger. And I'm not like Mr. Party guy. Like I was never that dude. I went to one of the number one party schools in America and I never partied. Like I was the biggest loser. I mean, I'm still the biggest loser in so many ways, but I just remember going like it was like the weirdest summer camp all of a sudden. Like I remember also I had this like card because at the basement or like the ground floor of Manzanita had the cafeteria, and I gained not the freshman 15, I gained the freshman 50. Like I wasn't even I would just like eat away my sorrows in that cafeteria because like they had like a yogurt station, they had like a meats station, just like meats. Just like turkey, roast beef, all that. I would just sit there and just eat as you could you could order Domino's to the dormitory. It was like but it was just so weird all of a sudden. Nothing prepares you for that. I think back to that and go, what the fuck was I thinking? What the fuck were my parents thinking? But that's part of it. That's part of growing up, right? It's that little, if you're lucky enough to get that, if you're lucky enough to go to a college or be able to do any of that stuff, but it is still so bizarre because I was never that fraternity guy. I'm really antisocial in so many ways. So it's sometimes really hard for me to actually even make friends, which I know sounds ridiculous if you're listening to this or watching this. You're like, you seem like you run your fucking mouth like a weirdo. I can't believe, but like, no, I am very insular when I'm not doing shit like this. But I think back to it now and just the fear of waking up and watching your roommate posing in like bodybuilding stances. And you're just like, what the fuck? What is going on, man? What is going on? Like you just longed for your parents' place again. So Antonia is obviously going to go through it. So we get out of that scene, more bouncy music, and we're over at Teresa's. And Teresa comes in the room and she squeals. "Ah!" And Gabriella, 19, is organizing everything because she's going to go to college as well. And Teresa's like, I was driving in the car and I kept thinking about you. I never cried for Gia when she left. She's only 45 minutes away, but I cried for you. Gabriella is going to the University of Michigan, Teresa says. That was her number one school that she wanted to go to. And then she asked Gabriella, are you going to miss me? And she's like, yeah, I definitely am. And then Teresa squeals some more. She's like, when I went to jail, when I went away, I asked my kids to email every day. Gabriella was the only one that emailed me every single day. And then Melania, 17, comes in the room, followed by Adriana, who's only 14. Like I got all the ages completely mixed up. So Teresa says she holds a very special place in my heart. And she says, listen, Louis is here, but next year you're leaving Melania, and then it's just you. Louis and I went on empty nesters for a long time still. Come on, it's going to be okay, Teresa says. But I did notice that Gabriella is packing all of her own things, and it was very interesting to see that Melissa was having to spearhead Antonia packing, but it seems like Gabriella is in charge of her own stuff. We cut back to the Gorgas, and we see Melissa and Joey's two sons. They're going over Antonia's some of her stuff to pack for college, her shower shoes. And God, that's the other thing, sharing a bathroom for the first time. The boys, Joey's boys look always like little jacked like dudes, little muscle kids. Little muscle kids, just like let's wrestle. They always look like they're about to wrestle something. Like Joey's about to pin them. Like, this is how you wrestle. Anyways, Joey's like, you'll come back, Antonio. You'll come back. And Joey's like, I've done it before, Melissa. I know. And Melissa's like, yeah, you moved your niece into college. I forgot. This will be your second rodeo. And we flash back to 2019 with Joey helping Gia move into college and like build things, which is a different time. And we cut then back over to Teresa's, and it's a family dinner. We got all the girls, we got Louis' son, and Louis' son is like, you always make a very nice special family meal. Thank you. You know, it's like Italian meal. Everything's out there. You got the Kraft Parmesan cheese out on the table. Louis Jr. says, it's always so good. It's always so good. Teresa's like, guys, guess what I got in the mail? I got my wedding album. And they're like, bring it out. Let's see it. Let's see it. I didn't even open it, guys. I wanted to open it in front of you guys, in front of the camera. Okay, we get to see the album. They open the album, and the first Teresa's like, that's one of my favorite pictures. And you guys, they look like superheroes. I don't like, we live in such a weird AI. Like, they are beautiful people, Louis and Teresa. But this first picture, I was like, what is the percentage of AI and what is the percentage of this is a real photo? Like, I will say this, Teresa, when I've seen her in person, stunningly does look like herself. Like, she legit, I'm like, holy shit. Like, I would always joke about like Facetune and stuff, but then you would see her in person. You're like, wow, she's really made up kind of exactly weirdly. You don't even think it's possible, but then she is. But this picture of Louis and Teresa, it looks like almost like a cartoon. It's like the perfect couple. And you got the Teresa with the big hair, but they're all looking at it. Teresa's wearing her Namaste Bitches podcast. Louis sitting there looking like a bright purple red tomato, but the whole family's gathered around looking at this, squealing. We see pictures of the girls all together. And Louis like, look how beautiful you guys look. We see one of Louis just looking off into the distance, a picture. And Teresa's like, I feel like Louis is my soulmate. I do. The daughters are like, you look so pretty, Mom. Teresa says, I was mad at God at one point because I didn't understand, like, why I had to go to jail. And then I lost my father. I lost my mother, but I finally got an answer. I went through all of this in order to meet my soulmate, Louis. Can you imagine that? Like, I truly do hope, regardless of how weird Louis comes off sometimes, I really do hope that he treats her right. I think that's the thing. I think we're a fan enough of this show, regardless of how you feel about Teresa, that she does deserve a happy ending, unless she's like really causing up a bunch of dirt herself. But you really hope Louis is the person that he portrays himself to be to her, because like she's sitting there going, you're the reason, you're my treat after going to prison and losing losing Nono and like losing these people. You're the prize. That is a lot. I mean, it's a lot to put on somebody, sure, but Teresa deserves that. I just hope that it turns out to be true, because I would actually be very sad if it turns out this is all some big taking her for a ride. I really hope that's not. So Teresa lets us know that blending their families together has been a dream for her. Louis and I have created this beautiful family, she says, and it feels amazing. And Louis like, Gabby, you need help with those dishes? And Gabby says, no, Dad, I've got help from my siblings. Gabriella calls him Dad. So listen, I mean, the kids seem to really like Louis. I'm so confused. So the kids are cleaning up. And then Louis goes like, come here, Teresa, give me a kiss. And he's one of those kissy guys where he grabs your face. He grabs your skull. He's like, give me a kiss. Give Louis a kiss. All right. So they're talking, and Louis like, we've been married for a year. Last year was chaotic. Wouldn't you agree? She's like, capiche? Capiche. Good. We flash over to Joey and Melissa's. And Melissa's telling Joey about Jen Fessler's birthday party. She says, I love Jen Fessler. I want to go to her birthday, but everyone's going to be there. Like, you know who? Your sister's going to be there. Jen Aiden's going to be there. And Joey's like, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Fuck it. And Melissa's like, I don't really care. And Joey's like, actually, I would love if they walked in the room. I'd say, hey. Melissa says she literally said, I'm never going to speak to her again. We cut back to 4 months ago at the reunion. And Teresa's like, I'm never going to speak to you again, Melissa, after tonight. And Melissa goes, why? Where are you going? Where are you going? And she's like, no, you're leaving. No, you're leaving. She's going to be out of my life after tonight. I will say this. It does seem that Teresa really thought that they would let Melissa go. And it didn't change anything. Like, I even thought one of them had to go, but I will say the ratings were still really strong. The reunion especially did really strong ratings. So there might not have been a need, even though I think there's an essential need at some point to find out what this show is without this relationship, but it's not going to be this season. We cut to a talking head with Melissa, and the producer asks a question of Melissa. It's so weird because even if like the producers, you can tell are trying to get Melissa to talk, and she's like, "Do you have anything to say about Teresa?" And Melissa says, "I really don't want to answer any questions about Teresa this year." Good for her. Anyways, Joey's like, "What are you gonna get Jen Fessler?" She's like, "I'm gonna go on a gift with Margaret and Rachel." And he goes, "Why don't you get her an autographed picture of James Gandolfini, right?" Yeah. And Melissa's like, "No, you idiot." He's like, "It'll be fun." And she's like, "No, her husband's not going to like that. He don't give a shit." She says it right in front of him. "I rode James Gandolfini's penis." She talks about it all. I love this is horrifying. James Gandolfini is potentially one of the best actors. Unfortunately, rest in peace to James Gandolfini. Just what like an incredible actor. And now he's being remembered as the guy that fucked Jen Fessler once. Like he's brought up all the time on Real Housewives of New Jersey. This man was Tony Soprano, and now we talk about him as the guy that fucked Jen Fessler. Wild. That's why you got to really be careful who you sleep with in this world. You just never know. You never know. You don't want like all you don't want to do like all this good and then you're like your life's boiled down to fucking a Real Housewife one time and then you got brought up in multiple episodes. Actually, I think that would be a great gift for Jen, like an autograph picture. That would be kind of funny. Anywho, so we cut to commercial. We come back. And Margaret Josephs is driving over to Jen Fessler's. And Jen Fessler has a guitar, and she's trying to pluck out Amazing Grace on an acoustic guitar. She's like, was blind, but now I see. This one goes out to James Gandolfini. I really didn't expect to see Jen Fessler with a guitar. And I hope this isn't a storyline by the end where she has to do an acoustic country song in front of the other Real Housewives. Jeff comes in, her husband is like, I heard the cat screaming with you playing the guitar. Rachel, 21, Jen's daughter, comes in. They're all making fun of her guitar playing. And she's just sitting there playing Amazing Grace. Margaret walks up to the house. Margaret, do you think about how different all of these ladies look? Even Jen Fessler has lost a great deal of weight in between seasons. So Margaret comes in, they do the I love you, you look great, oh my God, I love you, oh my God. Jen's like, whose legs are those? And Margaret's like, no, these are old ladies' legs. No. Jen says, I'm 55, it's a big deal. She's like, open your gift. And Margaret got her a vibrator. These shows live and die by these vibrators, and especially Jersey, but this one is a heart-shaped vibrator that you can bring to a hotel. She's like, yeah, this will be great. I don't want to, bring anything too big. It's a beautiful gift. Margaret says, it's a perfect gift for Jen Fessler. You want to keep the parts moving. You don't want your vagina to atrophy, I'm worried about her health. So they pretend to eat. They're doing a little pasta salad, a little fruit. They go to sit outside. So I'm like, what are they going to talk about? It seems like a nice day in Jersey, but I'm curious what the storyline is going to be, right? Now, Jen Fessler came onto this show because of Margaret. So it'll be interesting to see because I think Jen at some point does start hanging out with Teresa. Margaret's talking about the pool that she had put in. That's still like they've been dealing with this pool for like a year. And Jen's like, ever since I met you, you've had too much on your plate. You've had too much on your plate. And Margaret says, lately, I'm not myself, Jen. And She's like, "I feel like my life is go, 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 and I never have a chance to, like, sit and think of, like, what's really going on." My stepson got engaged, right? She's like, "That's great," but it's like, Jan isn't gonna be there because he died, and we weren't a great couple, but we were a great family. So for him not to see, and she starts tearing up. Jan's her ex. She's like, For him to not see some of my kids get married, it's a weird feeling, and I never got." And Jen's like, "You still haven't processed it." She's like, "No, I feel like the last 2, 3 months I've processed it, I guess, because the year anniversary of his death is coming up." And a talking head, she says, "Right when Jan died, I was worried about everyone else, my kids, checking on this one, checking on that one. And then when life went back to normal, there was no Jan calling me every day. I got a chance to think." And that's when the grieving kicks in. She says to Jen, he would always call me up and say, "Margaret, I could never say this to anybody else, you know?" There were so many emotional responsibilities, she says, and other responsibilities that I'd worked through with Jan that only he and I could do. And now I'm doing all this alone, and that's what hurts. And Jen says, "You had a whole life with him." And Margaret says, "It's a weird thing. I don't even want to, let's not, I don't want to torture us today," she says. And Jen's like, "You're not torturing me, honey." And Margaret's like, "What else? What else? What else?" And I love that she pushes past that. But to me, those are real emotions. Those are real things. Those are things that we all go through. And I know it might not be a sexy Real Housewife storyline, but to me, I want more of that. We all go. I'm going through that. Like those things, like, and that's it shows you these shows they can actually do some good. I've thought so much. 8 months since mom passed, and it is weird just to think about grieving and how it changes month to month and how new horrors will pop up or new accept, or you'll accept certain things or you'll be at peace with certain things. Grief and dealing with a loved one's death seems to be such a roller coaster of emotions. And it can be, like I've said many times, it can be really sad. It can be really beautiful. It can bring you closer to people. It can make you really depressed. It can steer you away from people. I've gone through so many different emotions. So I was like, kind of, I, I appreciated her talking about this, and I could see where that, when you're used to talking to somebody every day, even if you split up with them, you had this relationship, you had these kids that were in your life together. This is what life is about. And to me, this is like what really means something. So, I don't really care about the Teresa and Melissa of it all. To me, this is real. How do we get through these things in life? And how, if your life is going on this certain path of go, 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 and then actual death rocks your reality, how does that affect somebody that's go, 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 go? Like my life has changed so much in these 9 months since mom passed. I deal with depression on a daily basis. I've always dealt with depression to some form, but on a daily basis. I mean, I've been sick for these last couple of weeks, so it's not really helped anything, but I will just sit in bed. Like it is sometimes hard to get up. It is sometimes hard to move. And it is sometimes you'll be like, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point of these things if your loved one can't see it? And it's been this weird reckoning where some days you'll be okay and some days you just won't be okay. And some days it'll be in the same day. You'll go through everything. It's so weird and rough, but I appreciated that tiny scene. Anyways, we get past that and Jen's like, "Oh, birthday's over." She doesn't know there's going to be a surprise birthday, right? So they're talking about how they're going to get Jen Fessler in a flashback to this surprise party. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, maybe we'll go out to dinner, a couple people." She's like, "That'll be nice." I'm sure Jen knew this surprise was happening. Come on. Jen says, "Interestingly, Danielle DM'd me on my birthday, which was nice. Teresa called me on my birthday." And Margaret says, "As far as I'm concerned, she's dead to me. I mean that." And her husband. And Jen says, "If someone had called my kid and threatened my kid, that would be it." We flash back to the reunion 4 months ago. And Margaret says, "You called my child." And Louis says, "I did not call your child." And they're like, "That's your cell phone number." "Yeah, that is my cell phone number." And like, Margaret's like, "Louis, you have no credibility." Jen says in this scene, "Teresa's always been nice to me. What I would like to do is talk to Teresa about it. Like, explain this to me." And Margaret says, "No, don't talk about me. Don't ever bring it up. Okay. I'm asking you, Jen." And she's like, "Don't mention me. I don't want my name brought up near her, him. I don't want them to utter my name." And Jen says, "I understand that. When all this first went down and you said to me, Margaret, I'm not going to do this again. I'm never going to see those people again. And I did say to you that I'm not going to see those people again either. I meant it." And Margaret's like, "I know. You know what? I don't want to ever talk about her again," Margaret says. That's okay. And Margaret says, I love you. I love you too. We don't have to talk about it. But this is interesting because it's like kind of that line in the sand, and we'll see what happens because I think Jen does form a relationship with Teresa, which will obviously affect Jen Fessler and Margaret's relationship. So that will be very interesting. But this is what we talk about even with Vanderpump Rules about setting boundaries for yourself with Ariana. Like Margaret is setting a boundary. And when it comes to your kids getting involved and there aren't real answers, you can't run the risk of then palling around with somebody that is taking it to a certain threatening level. That's some scary shit. Even if Louis is not doing this, someone in that whole camp is. Like, what the fuck? It's too much. Anyways, we cut past that. We go to a scene with Paulie and Dolores. Paulie, of course, is Dolores' boyfriend. Teresa and Louis, they all meet up, a big double date. They do the kisses. You look great. You look purple. You look purple too. Amazing. They all sit down. Everybody's complimenting outfits. And they, sorry. They order food, and Dolores orders Polly a medium well steak. And we find out that Polly gets violently ill with Italian food. Like, what a horrible cross to bear. Italian food is some of the best food ever. What Polly's Irish, but like, my God, how? And Dolores tells us a story that her brother went as far as to make Polly meatballs, and Paul went home and he wound up in bed for 2 days. And she's like, "What am I supposed to cook for this guy? I don't cook now. I only know how to cook Italian food." I think it's a mental thing. How can meatballs kill you? I don't know either. What is that? I'd be fucking eating up a storm. Are you kidding me? Anyways, Teresa's like, we're two girls from Patterson. We're with two hot guys that aren't Italian, but have Italian names, Louie and Paulie. And Louie goes, we're lucky men. Hey, when are you going to put a damn ring on it, Paulie? He's trying to make a joke. And Paulie's like, hey, I really have to get divorced first, right? That's my Brock voice. And Dolores is like, yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable getting engaged until his divorce is final. And Dolores is like, is it ideal that he's not divorced? No. And Paulie's like, it's in the works. She deserves a proper engagement, right? And Teresa's like, there's no rush. When I met Louis, I was not divorced, so they can beat at their own drum, which is not really even how you say that saying. Louis talks about Gabriella leaving for college, coming back. And Dolores says, hey, when my kid left, I got a little bit loony. I got a dog. I try to collect things. It's not easy when they go away, but when they come back, you're like, it's time to go back to school. And Teresa's like, no, you don't. We're going to miss us so much. And Louis like, Gabriella is the most reserved one. And Teresa's like, she tells him she loves him now, huh? Yeah, she does to Louis. And Louis like, hey, do you get that, Paulie? Do you get an I love you? And he's like, I get an I love you from Frankie sometimes. I don't know. So then Dolores brings up, hey, this whole Jen Fessler birthday party, it's going to be the first time that we're all together. How do you feel about that, Teresa? And now Louis says he's going to Jen Fessler's party. But Teresa goes, Louis, such a gentleman. He texted John Fuda the other day. And Dolores is like, Fuda? Yeah, he said, can we meet for a cup of coffee? And Louis like, just to clear the air, I did that. Flashback to 2 days ago. And he says, John said, thank you for the text. We can just talk at Jennifer's party. I prefer not to talk to Jennifer's party because it's going to give an opportunity for all, like the minions. And Teresa's like, we're not about that. And Teresa to Dolores is like, it's not the right move, And Paulie's like, you got to call a spade, And Dolores is like, I guess he made it like it's the stand. And Paulie's like, yeah, it's a private conversation. You need to have it one-on-one. You don't need an audience there for you. It's got to be between you two. And Dolores is like, where do you stand with everybody else? What about Danielle? And Teresa's like, she's awesome. Her and Nate are awesome. Jennifer's great. Bill Aiden, they see a shot of them in Italy. Where are you with Margaret? Dolores asks. He's like, I'm going to see Margaret. Hello, how you doing? I don't speak to my brother. I don't speak to Melissa. They're like, will you say hi to them? And Teresa's like, no, absolutely not. No hello. Frank told Louis that they all met at Margaret's house before New York happened, before the reunion, to have a plan to go against Louis and I. In a talking head, she says, after New York, Louis was really upset for Frank to say anything negative about Louis. So wrong. We flash back to the reunion with Frank Sr. And he says, Frankie Jr. is no longer with Louis. And Dolores says that he got another job. He's very happy. I prefer not to talk about Frankie Jr. at all. And Dolores is like, I don't know what this rumor is. I don't want to talk about Frankie at all. Teresa's like, so after New York, my husband reached out to Frank. They made up. And he's like, I want you to know that they all came up with a plan trying to take Louis and myself down. Brittany and I did not go. He tells Teresa, Brittany is Frank's fiance now. And Teresa's like, oh, another thing I heard. Oh my God. Another thing I heard, which I want to ask Jen Fessler about. Danielle told me at New York, Jen Fessler said, like to the other group sitting across from us at the reunion, you guys didn't execute the plan correctly. Like, so that means, so that confirms what Frank said. Oh, you heard that too, Paulie? Paulie's like, I think you have to be deaf if you didn't hear it, huh? And Teresa's like, he heard it too. And Louis like laughing like a red-faced maniac. And Dolores says, I would ask why she said that. Oh, I am going to ask, Teresa says. Dolores says, it's very normal to have a meeting of the minds before the reunion. I think we all do it. This is how I'm looking at it. This is why I'm going to say this. It's like, it's not so groundbreaking with this group. It's tit for tat. And Teresa goes, it's so sad when two people are happy like we are instead of others, like you guys, you're happy for us. And we have to see that for what it is. And Dolores is like, well, cheers to that. I think the future of this show is potentially Dolores because she can get along with everybody in this cast. I think you need that one person, but also that whole getting together before the reunion. These people are all natural friends anyways, and they are going to get together if one person like Louis, they suspect is terrorizing everybody. You do want to have your story straight. That to me is not shocking. And I was like, yeah, of course. But also, if you hear the other thing, it seems like Teresa and Jen Aiden have a lot of planning that they do against the other people in the cast. This is the place where it gets really confusing because you have to read between the lines of this show. It's really weird. I don't like it. I don't like it, and it makes me super uncomfortable. Do you guys even care about any of this stuff? Like, do you want more of the actuality of their lives or what they do with other social media accounts? Do you want that to be brought into the show, or are you like, stop? I don't care at all. Anyways, we are at Jen Fessler's surprise party. John Skinny Fuda and Rachel Fuda are walking up. The place is all decorated. We got balloons. We got bright lights. There's like big, like 55 in big bold letters. We cut to a car where Teresa and Jen Aiden are going to the party together. They haven't seen each other in a minute. Jen says she didn't lay out too much while she was on vacation, did a lot of sightseeing. And Teresa's like, I don't like sightseeing. I love that. I love somebody like, when I go somewhere, I don't like to see the sights. That's like a bold statement. Nah, I don't want to see the sights. No. That's not my thing. No. I love that. They're like, what time is, I guess Bill's in surgery. That's why he's not in this episode. And then we find out that Louis, who was supposed to come, he all of a sudden had a business meeting come up in Florida. Teresa goes, I wanted him to come to be there with me, but in this business, things come up last second, not last minute, last second. What things? What? He goes, in this business, what business? I want to know more. When you say like, in this thing, in this business, what thing? What business? What comes up? The party, Mazzy, we see Jen Fessler's mom there. We see Joey and Melissa Gorga walking up. Everybody's hugging each other. Jen Fessler, of course, isn't there yet. So this is everybody just arriving. And you see like the guys getting there. You're like, oh, these guys are going to get lit like they usually do, right? You see Margaret, you see Marge Sr., they come up. Like all of the like Marge's friends and family, they're all morphing into like the same look. We see Joe Benigno, Margaret's husband there. The guys are like, what's up, man? Let's get a drink. Let's get a drink. Jackie and Evan Goldschneider, they walk up. So it's great to see them again. Jackie's had a wild ride because, they kind of not turned their back on her, but she was heavily demoted. And then this season, it seems like we're back in Jackie business. So good for her. They're coming in. Danielle and her husband come in. I'm so curious what Danielle, her storyline is going to be this season. Because I felt she had a really strong first half of last season and kind of petered off. Rachel says, last year, Danielle and I had a handful of really nice times together. I liked her. And we see flashbacks to their scenes from last year. And then Danielle says, Rachel and I are in the same stage in life. Our kids are relatively the same age. We get flashbacks to their kids playing together last year. We're just having like a good time starting from scratch, like getting lunch together. We flash back to last week that they had a lunch together, which is baby steps. They burp at the lunch. It's very funny, LOL. She says, I feel like we're very opposite. Like she's very da 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 da. And I'm not. Danielle says she is the ice queen. Like I wish I could be like that. But we need these two people, these two characters to get along because I feel like if we're going to invest in them in the future of Jersey, we got to have them. We got to have people that get along on this show. So the guys are over in a corner drinking, and John Fuda is like, "Yeah, I get accused every day of all sorts of things around here now. I get accused of everything." And Joey's like, "What are you talking about? What's up with you? What? Come on!" Like, I get accused of all kinds of shit every day of my life. You know what I mean? We cut back to this car ride with Jen and Teresa. Now, this is interesting. Jen Aiden says, "Oh, I heard some shit about John Fuda." And Teresa's like, "I seen that all over the place." We flash back to 2 hours ago, and Teresa's on a FaceTime with Louie. And you got to see this FaceTime because Louie is doing like duck lips into the face, like the FaceTime camera, like a model. He's like, yeah, what'd you hear? What did you hear? He's like doing the duck lips. And she's like, "Oh my God, Louis, so much shit came out on the internet. His ex, John Fuda, saying was like he was the biggest drug dealer in Bergen County and he likes purple double-sided dildo." And we're back in the car, and Jen Aiden's like, "The double-sided dildo." Jen Aiden goes, "All over social media, we were seeing blind items like John Fuda. He's a little kinky boots in the bedroom, if you know what I mean." And then Teresa goes, "Have you ever tried that?" And Jen's like, "No, let's not kink shame. I don't care if John Fuda likes a five-sided dildo. Let's not kink shame. And if he was the biggest drug dealer in Bergen County, obviously he is not anymore. So we've got to celebrate somebody that is like on the right path. But it is wild because this is one of those stories that you feel like these ladies pushed out to social media accounts to get this shit out there, to get this on the show. It's really weird, and I just don't think it's necessary. We cut back to the guys, and John's cheersing the other guys, and he's like, "Yeah, it turns out I like fingers and dildos in my ass. Cheers!" All right, what a great cheers. This is a family show. He's like, "Apparently they got my baby mama making these comments, and they're like, here's the dildos." Paulie and Dolores walk in. So I'm like, "Oh God, Polly's gonna have to like talk with the guys. That's gonna be interesting because he's like a Louis friend." And Polly's like, "Hey guys, I'm here. Hey, I'm gonna come and drink with you guys. All right, are we talking dildos? All right." So everybody's just kind of saying hello to each other. Melissa Gorga is feeling Dolores' very hard Monjoro Ozempic butt. Um, it's it's very cute. Melissa and Dolores get into a conversation about Paulie still, having not finalized his divorce yet. And Dolores lets us know that, it is weird, but they have been separated for 10 years, but it is time to actually get that divorce in place. I'm wondering what the actual real story is there. 10 years is a long time to be separated. Now, Teresa and Jen Aiden walk into the place, and the guys are like, "Hey, look who's walking in. Look who's walking in." And Joey is kind of like Hawkeyeing it, like, sees his sister. You can tell Teresa sees Joey in the corner. They see him and they kind of ignore Joey and the guys. And then Teresa comes over, kisses Paulie, says hello to Joe Benigno, and Joey Gorga is just sitting there drinking. And Jen Aiden and Teresa walk away and goes, "That was so fucking awkward." Like, so they truly did not say hello to each other. Teresa says hi to Margaret, very quick. Then Margaret walks away. And Margaret walks over to Melissa and goes, "Teresa just walked in and said hi." I go, "Hi," like that. And I walk past. I walk right past. Producer says, "How do you feel being here with Teresa?" to Melissa. And Melissa says, "I feel nothing." So that's wild. Anyways, Jen's like, "Let's get a drink, Teresa." There's like this candy lady with a full table of candy surrounding her body and it twirls. Like we're talking like big candy bars, big old Starbursts, the whole thing. Now, Danielle, Melissa, and Margaret are in a conversation. No, sorry, not Danielle, Jackie. And Jackie says, "Oh, my book is coming out." Melissa's like, "Yeah, I got a copy of your book because you're coming on the podcast." And Margaret's like, "I would like to read your book too, Jackie. I did not get a copy. I would like to read it." And Melissa's like, "Well, she's doing my podcast." And Margaret goes, "Oh, so I got to be on the podcast to read your book?" And Jackie's like, "No, no, I'll drop a book at your house, you know?" Now, John Fuda goes over to his wife, Rachel, and Rachel shows him the phone and like shows him something like, look at this, look at this. And it's just that Jen is coming here and it's time to surprise her now. I thought it was going to be something about the dildos. Like, look what they're talking about online. They're talking about your love of dildos. We see Jen Fessler pull up in like this nice Mercedes. She steps out of the car. There's just no fucking way that Jen doesn't know because there's cameras there. There's just no way she thinks she doesn't know this is a surprise, right? So Jen Fessler walks in. Thank God she doesn't have the acoustic guitar with her. She goes in. They're all like, surprise. And Rachel's like, oh, what the fuck? Oh my God, I'm so surprised. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Oh, I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised. Oh, so surprised. So she's very surprised. And then we cut to like Danielle and Jen Fudo walking past Jackie and Margaret and Melissa. And Daniel says, oh, hey, like really quick and walks away. And Jackie's like, oh, they can't even say hi. And Margaret's like, no, they just said hi. She's like, yeah, but it's still weird. And then we go over to the other girls. And Jen Aiden was like, you said hi to Margaret. How was that? Was that weird? And Jen was like, I was shocked as shit that Margaret was nice to me. And Teresa goes, she's nice to you because you're my friend. And Jen Aiden says, well, usually people are not nice to me because, I'm friends with you. And I'm like, damn, Jen, that's interesting. I love this is why this scene is so weird is there's all these people that don't really like each other that are like kind of saying like timid hellos and then they're going off and talking about the timid hellos. We go back to the guys, they're still drinking. Nate, Danielle's husband is there. They're like eating sliders and drinking and I feel like they're going to start ripping each other's chest hair apart. It's just giggling. And all the girls are watching going like, look at those nuthead guys. Look at those guys. And Joey tells Polly, hey, where's your boy? Where's your boy? And they're like, oh, you mean Louis? You mean Louis? And Polly's like, say his fucking name and I'll answer you. Say his name, Louis. And they're like, he's away on business. And John's like, hey, John Fuda's like, surprised he reached out to me. He said he wanted to talk to me. He said he didn't want to do it here. I'm surprised he's not here, though. He must be on a private jet somewhere. I thought we were going to talk today, though. And Paulie goes, I was talking to him and he showed me that text. You want to meet somebody in person? A party is not a place to talk. So I said to him, I understand where John's coming from, but I wouldn't have that conversation at something like this at this party for Jen Fessler. I would have it like a coffee place. Sit down, get it all out, get it over with and done. And he's like, let me finish this. Your problem is not the problem. It's two very different problems. And what you went through and what happened, I think that needs to be spoken about between you and him. And John's like, fair enough. Let me respond. Why would I give a man who disrespected my family the respect to meet him somewhere? You guys got his back. You guys are flying and wing with him. And Paulie's like, I'm your friend. I'm his friend. I'm neutral to the situation. I got to be honest. Listen, I'm on no one's fucking schedule. That's the bottom line, he tells John Fuda. He's like, it looks like you're on his side. I'm just being honest. And Joey's like, you back that guy up? And he's like, if he's wrong, I wouldn't back anybody up. Dolores in a talking head says, I don't like the way everybody's facing Paulie. And I can tell by Paul's body language, he's losing his patience. And I don't like it. And Joey's like, you think he's in the right, Paulie? And John's like, when's the last time somebody said I'm going to hire a private investigator? I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him. Paulie, I'll let you talk because Paulie keeps trying to talk. He's like, let me finish. You're going to keep interrupting. And Joey's like getting in the middle of this. It's just noisy. And it's like, this is like, nah, come on. No. Let me set the record straight. Come on. And he's like, John, you haven't shut the fuck up, Paulie says to John Fuda. And Dolores says, always know where the exit is. My dad taught me that. Now is time to leave. And Dolores comes up and goes, you guys are done talking, grabs Paulie to leave because she doesn't want this shit to escalate and she sees it escalating. But this is what I'm talking about. The women are all like kind of running from arguments and running from each other. The guys are like just like literally dogpiling each other already. First fight of the season. It's with the guys because the girls are talking behind each other's back and the guys are like yelling at each other's faces. So Dolores is like, yeah, we're out of here. You guys are done talking. That's how I feel right now. Let's go. And they're like, shut the fuck up. No, shut the fuck up. And so they leave. Melissa's like, what the fuck is going on? And Joe Bonino tells John Fuda, don't yell at him. And John Fuda's like, Joe Bonino, it's about respect. Don't tell me to shut the fuck up. And Paulie, we hear him go, I should have told him to shut the fuck up. I should have told him. We cut back to the festivities. The cake is like going. We see big Jen Fessler heads. People are doing shots like nobody's business. The candy girl is just spinning. And she's like, would you like some candy? And Jen Fessler's like, yeah. Everybody is leaving. Everybody's saying goodbye already. Teresa and Jen Aiden go over to Rachel Fuda and say, are we good? We're good. Okay. And Teresa's like, I don't want to talk now, but your husband went for my husband, trying to ruin his reputation. And Rachel says, I think our husbands need to have a separate conversation. Well, Louis, he tried. Louis was a gentleman. He reached out, Rachel. He wanted to clear the air before coming here. And Rachel's like, he's not here. Well, he had a business meeting. And then Rachel goes, like a magic trip. And Teresa's like, why should he talk here? He goes, it doesn't work that way, Rachel. And Rachel says, John and Louis are never going to be friends. And Teresa's like, as gentlemen, they meet privately. And Rachel goes, what do you know about gentlemen? What do you know about gentlemen? And Teresa's like, you don't know my husband. He's a gentleman. He is a gentleman. And Rachel goes, I don't want to know him. I don't want to know him. And it's wild because Teresa is going off. And Jen Aiden is just by her side, kind of like just throwing in like, yeah. And then Teresa's like, you know what your husband said to my husband? He said, I have tremendous respect for your wife because we both went to jail. And Rachel's like, Teresa, I heard that he was the biggest drug dealer in Bergen County. And Rachel goes, Teresa, don't come for my husband, Rachel, because I will come for your husband. And Jen Aiden's like, this is not going well, and walks away. And Rachel goes, cowards leave. And then immediately goes to Teresa immediately drunkenly goes to the candy lady and starts just grabbing huge packets of Starburst and throwing them in her bag. And then some of it's like spilling on the floor, but she's not grabbing it. And then John Fuda walks by and Teresa goes, hi. And John Fuda like kind of just like, hey, and walks away. And Teresa's like, double-sided dildo. Double-sided. You're the biggest drug dealer in Bergen County. And it's just really fucked up. But Teresa grabbed a lot of free candy there. I clocked that. I hope everybody clocked. That's a lot of candy she took. Rachel goes, Teresa, you want to tell my husband what you said? You want to tell him? And Teresa goes, I'm not telling him here. Yeah, you don't know. Okay, come here. No, it's out. Your ex. It's out in the social media. It's out about you. And John goes, you listen to an inmate who's in prison. And Teresa's like, we were both in prison. And John's like, are you going to let me talk? I can't talk to somebody when you're talking over me. You don't listen. And Teresa's like, you're a drug dealer with double-sided dildos. You don't know shit. And John and Rachel are fighting with Jen and Teresa going like, you don't know shit. You don't know shit. You're a has-been, John Fuda says. A fucking has-been. As Teresa and Jen Aiden walk out. She's like, you're a pussy shit has-been. And then they do this season on Real Housewives of New Jersey. And it's just a collection of clips of just mess. Of people fighting, people partying, guys partying, guys fighting. Jen Fessler talking about her prostate getting milked. Louis stretching Teresa in a yoga pose, a softball game, people drinking Cosmopolitans, the girls going to college, going to Delaware, Joey Gorga crying that his daughter's going, Teresa's crying. We see Joe Giudice FaceTiming. We talk about Dolores and her relationship. We have Paulie having relationship issues potentially with Dolores. They talk about like Joey's like, your marriage with Dolores was better when her ex Jan was alive. And then we have Jen Fessler and Teresa having a friendship, which we then know upsets Margaret. And then we see Jackie Goldschneider go over to Teresa's house, and Margaret says, "Oh, Jackie Judas Goldschneider." Woo! So it's a lot of fights, guys. It's a lot of the same thing that we've seen again and again and again. I'm going to watch every episode. Are you? I'm just curious if we're going to actually make any headway and if too many things are happening behind the scenes for us to ever really know the truth of any of these situations. And the things that I think really take off are when we see something really real and we don't have to read between the lines. I don't love when people are like hiding storylines. I like when people are like facing them head on. So that's just my take. But this was the first episode of Real Housewives of New Jersey. What did you think? Oh, before we let you go, I want to read you then. This is where I feel like John Fuda is doing way too much. He does not need to be doing this. So this got released after the first episode. It says a press release after the first episode of Jersey last night. It says for immediate release, John Fuda responds to Real Housewives of New Jersey castmates' attempts to disparage his character. John Fuda, esteemed entrepreneur and philanthropist, has issued a statement in response to recent attempts by his fellow castmates on The Real Housewives of New Jersey to bring up his past in an effort to cast him in a negative light. In recent episodes of Real Housewives of New Jersey, certain cast members have resorted to dredging up Mr. Fuda's past in an apparent attempt to discredit him and undermine his reputation. Despite these efforts, Mr. Fuda remains steadfast in his commitment to integrity, honesty, and personal growth. Quote, "While I am not proud of every aspect of my history, I have worked tirelessly to overcome challenges and strive for a better future. I refuse to be defined by my past mistakes." A respected figure in his community, John Fuda has dedicated himself to numerous charitable causes and business endeavors. His contributions to society far outweigh any missteps of his past, and he remains focused on making a positive impact on the world around him. Quote, "I am grateful for the support of my friends, family, and fans who see me for who I am today, a person dedicated to growth, kindness, and authenticity." Mr. Fuda added, "I will continue to rise above negativity and remain true to myself." Mr. Fuda's response serves as a reminder that everyone deserves a chance to evolve and move forward from their past free from judgment and condemnation. For media inquiries or interview requests, please contact Fuda Communications at John. Then it says about John Fuda. John Fuda is a respected entrepreneur, philanthropist, and television personality known for his appearances on The Real Housewives of New Jersey. With a passion for business and giving back to his community, Mr. Fuda has become a beloved figure among fans and supporters. A beloved figure, dude. We are barely 2 seasons in. You're a season in. This is like the first episode for you of a second season. You did not need to do this much, and it's really weird because, like, obviously he wrote this, or this is AI. He wrote his own press release. Like, it has his own email in it. Fuda Communications. It's doing way. It's giving way too much. It's way. You're a house husband. Like I think it's amazing that you've you have a good life. You're in shape, but like, don't make this season about you. It never goes well for the men. It does not go well. I know you can get wrapped up in all of this stuff, and it's probably really exciting, but you are not responsible for taking Teresa down. And it seems like he feels like he might be the one that needs to do it, and it's just not. No matter my own personal feelings, it never works out well. So I worry for John Fuda. I do worry. Anyways, I hope you guys have the best Tuesday ever. We will talk on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll talk for the rest of time until the end of days. But I hope you enjoyed today's show. I hope you found some laughs and all that good stuff. And let me know what you want to hear more of. And I'm going to start working on my Summer House Patreon recap and put that out right now too, or try to. I just got to rest my voice a little bit. But yeah, that's it, you guys. I always hate saying goodbye, but it's not goodbye. We're going to talk again tomorrow. Okay, not goodbye. Goodbye.